Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope we're doing well. And today we'll be talking about the weekend ahead at the box office. Before going any further, please make sure you smash that like button, that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on this channel. How was I able to get that last part in, but I wasn't able to get the other one done cleanly? Anyway, so let's talk a little bit about Shang-Chi, which is expected to make $23 million in the domestic marketplace, a 34% drop in its third week, putting this film ever closer to a $200 million domestic take, which would be one of the largest domestic takes in a very long time. Again, $200 million, not something you hear a whole lot in the domestic market ever since COVID started. So this would be a pretty huge take in for this film. This is one of the reasons why I projected last weekend, based on the numbers that we had, why this film is likely going to be able to make some profits. We'll have a little bit of a better idea of how close or how much closer it is to making profit once we get those international numbers in as well. But still a very strong weekend ahead for Shang-Chi, which makes sense because there isn't really a whole lot of competition right now, and we still have a pretty big marketing push being put out by Disney for people to go see this film in theaters. We also have the movie Free Guy, another Disney film, a holdover of the 20th Century Fox deal, making $4.5 million. Again, ever going over the $100 million. Very substantial. $100 million is, again, something also that many studios have not seen a whole lot of this year, up to $107.7 million. This is kind of like that little engine that could kind of movie where it didn't make a crazy amount of money in its opening weekend, but it's had such great holds from week to week where it's still out at over 3,000 theaters. And this film has been out for, over a month or about a month at this point. So again, that's pretty impressive for a film that I think most people would have looked at initially and said, okay, yeah, this is going to be one of those, silly throwaway films that might make a quick buck here and there, but really not anything too special to say about it. But this has had one of the best holds, or at least the best legs of any film that has come out really in pandemic times. So again, I guess kudos to Ryan Reynolds and to the team for being able to produce a film that was able to drive a lot of people to actually go out and see it. We also have a couple of new films coming out this weekend. We got Cry Macho. This is the new film from Clint Eastwood. Apparently it is also a type of Western movie, so I believe that this is available right now on HBO Max, and so as it is a day-and-date release, this film is only expected to make around $2.8 million, even though it is expected to come out at almost 4,000 screens, so a very large opening for this film, only expected, though, to bring in $2.8 million. The other new release is Cop Shop, which is expected to make around $2.4 million. So this, again, is just another sign that the box office really isn't back by any means, because if the box office was truly back, then we would see even independent films or smaller films doing a lot better than what they were actually doing. But we see that there are still a lot of people that would rather either stay home and watch films on HBO Max on streaming services, or they would just rather not go to see what's being currently released in this way. I mean, obviously people might point to Shang-Chi, but even this film, as well as it's doing for pandemic times, when you compare it to other films in the Marvel franchise, it is still one of the lowest grossing of the Marvel films, and so you have to take that into account as well, as being a sign that the box office still has a pretty long way to go before it reaches any sort of real recovery whatsoever. But going back to the main topic of today, again, that $177.8 million it's expected to have, that is Shang-Chi, of the domestic market, is very impressive for a movie that, again, I don't think many people were expecting to be this much of a domestic success. I think that's, obviously some people are going to say, well, in retrospect, we saw all the things were going. I don't think anyone actually predicted that I was going to have this kind of a hold 3 weeks in by any stretch of the imagination, let alone being a film that was going to reach close to $200 million at the very least by the end of its domestic run. All of this is happening, by the way, where you have actually at the same time the director of Dune. So this is a film also that is coming out this weekend in certain markets. I've already covered this in another video. It's set to make around $20 million or so is the estimates of, again, among the markets that it's coming out in, and it's going to have one of these slow roll releases. I think the attempt is to try and build up anticipation, to build up interest in the movie slowly over time, and so that way, when eventually does have the day and date release on HBO Max, that more people are willing to go see this film in theaters, because obviously they want to try and recoup as much as their investment that they possibly can. Though we did talk about the other day that the amount of money that the film costs is not as much as what one may have thought of initially. It only costs around $165 million, which I know is still a lot, but when you compare that to other films that cost $200 million plus, like No Time to Die, for instance, you realize that this is definitely one of the lower budget, big budget films And so I think that that's definitely a better sign for the film, but I still don't really necessarily think that the film is going to be able to make its money back in the current marketplace because, as I said, it's very difficult for any film with a massive budget to make its money back. Really, Shang-Chi is the only real current example of a major film to be released in the last few months that is going to be able to, potentially make its money back. And with these kinds of holds domestically, that is becoming ever more likely a possibility. As I said, the only way that this film doesn't make its money back is if there are some just massive drop-offs, and we are not just seeing that. We're not really seeing that at this point. And so the chances of Shang-Chi making its money back are a lot higher, a lot better every single week it comes out, and every single week it's able to hold on to it. Now, this will probably change a little bit, especially as newer films start to come out. Next weekend is the only other weekend I can think of before October hits where you'll have, I guess, a somewhat wide release, but that's going to be a film called Dear Evan Hansen, which is a musical, which is not really going to, again, be a massive record holder at the box office by any means. It's going to bring out maybe the musical theater crowd, maybe some of the teenage crowd, but it's not going to have, again, a major impact on the box office. I don't think anyone's really looking ahead to say that it's going to have a major impact on the box office, so again, that's really the only competition that Shang-Chi has before the October release of films start. And really, the fall movie season starts, and we have, again, major big budget releases that are being released. And some of these films are films that have been delayed for a long, long time now, including films like No Time to Die and others. So it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens with those movies as they begin to come out. But just a little bit of a look at it at the box office. Again, Shang-Chi expected to get very close to $200 million. Free Guy continuing to do much better than anyone would have expected. New films, Cry Macho, Cop Shop, not expected to do a whole lot, but I'm kind of excited to see Cry Macho because there's every time Clint Eastwood puts out a movie, there's always talk about, is this his last movie? Is he done? And you know what? If he's going to go out on a film that is going to be, I guess, a bit of a Western style, hey, I think that that's a perfect way for him to go out. But anyway, what are your thoughts about this? Are you kind of surprised that Shang-Chi is getting close to $200 million? Again, that's kind of a huge number for a film like this during a time like this. But again, even with all that being said, it does have to also be restated that in comparison to other films from the Marvel franchise, obviously it is still nowhere near where, the levels that it should be for, again, being a truly successful Marvel film. However, has to be said that to have any Marvel film making money in this current marketplace, again, is quite surprising. I don't think Eternals is going to have as much success, but we'll have to, of course, wait and see when we actually get some numbers for that. But let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my September Locals, Patreon, and Subscribe Star members. First with my Locals members, Cats App, D Sharp, It's a Modern Major General Story, Bifford de Hobbit, and Robert Barnes. I want to give a shout out to, especially to Laura, who is now a double supporter on Locals and on Patreon. So thank you for that. And to all of my Locals members. A shout out also to my Patreon members, Andrew Hoyle, animation commentator Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Hannibal Grimm, Harold Francis, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Garney, Gomer Kyle 79, the Modern Major General Story once again, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Ullen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., the Empress of the Universe. And a shout out also to my Subscribe Star members, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for supporting the channel. And I want to give a huge shout out to new members, one-time supporters over on Locals, Kara Tharp, K Tharp 56, and Brett D 90. Thank you again for being a one-time supporter over on Locals, and also to my newest Patreon member, Stan Gunovic. And hopefully I pronounced that correctly, but thank you for being my newest members. It really does mean a lot. And if you want to have your name shouted out at the end of every single video or live stream on the main channel, please check out the links in the description below, specifically that top link, which will bring you to all of the links to my various social media pages and also places of support as well. And remember that if you join at the Army of Asgard level, you also get access to giveaways of 4K titles. Right now, I have a live giveaway of Snatch on 4K Steelbook. I've also got ones for Dread, Wrath of Man Blu-ray. I've also got A Quiet Place Part 2 on 4K. I've got Top Gun on 4K, Sicario on 4K, tons of films and more to come, especially as more films are getting released for those giveaways. At the Keeper of the Bifrost level, you get all of that, plus you get access to an exclusive podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger. Not only do you get to listen to the podcast, you also get to ask questions that we answer as much as we can and as fully as we can in a much more, I guess you could say, uncensored way, but again, a much more free-flowing way for our members over there at the Keeper of the Bifrost level above. And if you join the Chosen of Valhalla level, you get access to all of those things, plus in your first month, you get a free t-shirt, your choice, and I send it to you no matter where you are in the world. And also, you get to once a month be featured on the channel in the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where we talk about movie, news, and pretty much anything that you want to talk about. So if that all sounds like fun to you, check out those links below. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.